Hey, everybody.
right out of the gate, right? It's the first episode of a new podcast, and we just want to establish right away that we're those types of guys.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Hey, guys. Wow. Rock and roll.
No, this is a pretty, momentous occasion in the world of audiovisual arts. Because we're back, baby, sort of. But
yes. It's a reboot.
It's a reboot. It's a remake.
It's a
gritty remake of the pod, The Franchisees. A long time ago, my roommate and I at the time, we watched every American Pie. They were all on Netflix. And we watched them all, and we're like, we should have podcasted about that. So we watched them all again.
I didn't know that you actually you just watched them all for fun.
Yeah.
Without a podcast tied to it.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you don't podcast about it or tweet about it or anything like that, it's like, what's the point?
Worthless endeavor.
Yeah.
But yeah, we would just get stoned and then watch one, and then.
Oh, okay. Well, that makes sense, I guess.
Yeah, but then at the end of it, we were like, we should have podcasted that, and that's actually kind of how the idea came about. We did. So we're the only people in the world who have watched every American Pie at least twice.
Do you think that's actually? How many people do you think actually have done that?
All 8 American Pies at the time. They've released a direct-to-video another one since then.
Okay.
Eugene Levy's in all of them, but I doubt he's even watched them all.
His son Dan Levy has watched them all because he's his dad's biggest supporter.
Maybe.
I think so.
So maybe it's like us and Dan Levy.
Yeah.
But do you think he's watched every single one more than once?
I think he probably watched them once, and then he had a Schitt's Creek cast party watch of all of them.
Yeah, you think
just
so?
to support his dad.
But
he's just such a nice guy, I think.
We'll get to it when we get to it. But those direct-to-video ones are something else. Like Bandcamp, like they're pretty heinous. But
yeah, I imagine they're mostly vehicles for nudity and things like that, right? Like, are they not?
Yeah, but like the worst kind.
Yeah.
And just cheap and gross. But
yeah, they seem pretty gross.
Yeah, but
the original American Pie is like a very like heartfelt movie, right? Compared to like
all the mainline ones
right?
aren't bad.
Okay.
American Wedding is kind of shitty, and it's like oddly Stifler focused. But then they kind of course correct.
Yeah, well, they realized where the money was. It was the
Sean William Scott.
It was all about Stifler.
But anyway, we did that, and we podcasted about it. And then my roommate, like a real loser, decided to move in with his girlfriend.
Oh, disgusting! Yeah.
They're leading a happy life. I stopped paying for the hosting service, and the podcast died. But now, we're here.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Alex.
I'm Ben.
We live close to one another, and we're sad film nerds.
Yeah, I mean, speak for yourself. I don't think I've ever been happier in my life.
Okay, fair. Yeah, actually, me neither.
Yeah,
if I'm gonna be honest.
Right.
But yeah, and it's a reboot.
Yeah, it's a reboot. Yeah, and I promise I have big shoes to fill from your roommate, whose name was Ronald. I don't remember what his name was.
I wasn't gonna correct. I wanted to see what you came up with. It was Kyle.
Kyle. I was pretty close. Yeah, I knew it was Kyle or Steve or whatever.
Or Ronald.
Yeah. Anyway, Steve is a good guy, and I'll always miss him. I don't think I met. No, I met him once.
Yeah,
he's
a nice enough fellow.
Anyway, I'll try to be a good co-host.
Well, I think you've definitely got a lot more film knowledge.
Oh well, yeah. I mean,
we're currently standing. Sure. We're sitting in your living room, and I can simultaneously see a poster for Ingmar Bergman's Shame, Michael Mann's Miami Vice, phone booth.
Yes.
A double phone booth poster.
Yes, it's 2 regular-sized posters stacked on top of one another to simulate a phone booth.
The film Move with It's Pure Gould.
Yeah, a movie nobody has seen, including myself. Really, and the first 2 you mentioned, like, they're right next to each other. Shame, or as they say in the original Swedish, Skamen, and Miami Vice, the Michael Mann movie. Those are the only 2 movies you need, really. I think that kind of sums up the totality of the human experience. Those two films.
I think most people would agree with you.
Yeah.
That's what most people say. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. The new Sight and Sound poll is currently being tabulated by a bunch of British people, and we're sure to find when the results come out that number 1 and number 2 are Shame and Miami Vice, respectively.
Yeah.
A lot of people have voted for Miami Vice. I would be funny if Miami Vice. It's not right, but it would be funny if that got on, right?
I've never actually seen it.
Oh, it's great. It's really good. It's really good. But
there you go.
But it Michael Mann is so popular these days, and
he
for all
had
sorts
a
of reasons.
resurgence.
Yeah, and he's a great director and stuff. But it would be funny if Miami Vice is a movie that I think we're not talking about Miami Vice. We're not talking about that right now.
We'll get to it eventually.
We'll get
it's
to
part
it.
of a franchise.
It's part of the Michael Mann universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the premise of the show is, we're going to go through an entire film franchise, tracing its theatrical rise, direct-to-video fall, and occasional redemption. And since it's October,
Yeah.
spooky season, and since I need a break before I delve into the fucking American Pie again.
Oh, we're not
third time.
we're not going to do that for a while.
For a while.
That's other podcasts have done that too, and we're we have to try to break new ground by doing.
So what are we doing?
What are we doing? We're doing the Paranormal Activity film series,
Which I was shocked.
Yeah.
When you told me there's 8 of them.
Well, let's just quickly do a little rundown. We have Paranormal Activity from originally from 2007, but released to the masses in 2009.
Which we're doing today.
Then we have Paranormal Activity 2, creatively titled Paranormal Activity 3, Paranormal Activity 4, and then the 5th installment, a spin-off called The Marked Ones. The 6th installment, which I know that Alex and I are the most excited for, and really one of the only reasons for us to keep going, these days, is that we can get to number 6, which is the Ghost Dimension.
I cannot wait for the Ghost Dimension.
I know. We're actually looking to move there. We live in Toronto. It's one of the least affordable cities in the world right now.
Yeah.
And surely we could find more real estate in the Ghost Dimension.
Voted one of the most livable dimensions.
Yeah. It's there's all sorts of nasty things going on there, but if you like ghosts and it doesn't really bother you, then there's a video game too, apparently.
No way.
Which we're not going to play. And then there's another one called Next of Kin.
Speak for yourself.
Next of Kin, which is the title of a much better horror movie. And then there's that was released in 2021, and then there's another one coming out in 2023. So,
I guess we'll have to update.
I guess we're going to have to do that. Yeah.
Just for the Patreon. Make
Yeah,
sure
I
you
guess.
subscribe.
What's the next one called? Oh, The Other Side. Yeah.
The Other
It's
Side.
also the name of a movie, or anyway, whatever.
The Other Side sounds just like a synonym for the Ghost Dimension. Surely
Yeah.
the Ghost Dimension and the Other Side are interchangeable.
Yeah.
Also, the Other Side, the theme song is going to be Other Side by the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Yeah, I'm gonna try really hard not to ever sing on this, but he's like,
it's perfect.
how does it? Yeah, we used to. We were both really big into RHCP.
I saw them live when I was in high school.
Oh, I wasn't that big into them. Okay, wow. No,
I
good
bought
for you.
Stadium Arcadium on CD.
Yeah, I think my
Gus Van
brother
Sant
did.
does all their art direction, so he
What?
did the photography for Stadium Arcadium. Yeah, he did.
Really?
Gus Van Sant was credited as photographer for
Wow,
Stadium Arcadium.
okay.
I think other Chili Peppers albums too.
Do you hear that, Gus? We're exposing you for being an RHCP collaborator. Your stock is crashing right now. Your cool indie director card is being cashed in. Total sellout.
Oh,
What a hack. Anyway,
That's
this
what they
is the Gus Van Sant hour where we talk about
Welcome to the Gus Van Sant pod.
what a hack Gus Van Sant is.
Gus Van Sant cast.
The Van yeah. Little Gus Van Sant. I do like a lot of his movies, and I just in case Gus ever listens to this, I don't actually think you're a hack.
Yeah,
The Van Santaverse, yeah.
yeah. That's the
Well,
best.
no, he does have that trilogy. They're like whatever the
right,
Death
yeah.
trilogy. I'd love to do a
Last
Jerry
Days.
podcast. Nobody's ever done a podcast about Jerry.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, we might as well knock that out.
Yeah, it'd be great. I just want to show you Jerry. I think you'd really get a kick out of it.
Oh, Elephant is part of that too. Elephant's a really good movie.
Well, this is the thing is like, I haven't seen it since I was like in high school. When I was in high school, I thought it was the greatest movie ever made. But now, and especially now that school shootings happen every week or whatever, is it going to be the greatest movie ever made, or is it going to feel very trite and very like, I don't know. I'm surprised.
I don't know. That's a great question. I don't know if it would feel trite. But
Not surprised. I'm curious.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No. I think it was a very... well, that one's like super inspired by Columbine.
Yeah. No, but I know. But it's like, I just feel like it's going to... I've been hesitant to revisit it because I'm worried that it's going to... it's just going to feel like exploitative or like gross.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. In a way that doing the Kurt Cobain movie... I haven't seen that one, right?
Yeah,
but I'm sure that one is also kind of like... Anyway, whatever.
So Paranormal Activity.
We're not talking about that. We're talking about,
Talk about Oren Pele's masterpiece.
Yes. We're not going to talk about Kurt Cobain again until we get to the ghost dimension where he currently resides.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, Oren Peli. We love him. We love to say his name. It's a funny name. And he is one of the great, I guess, like indie horror success stories in a way, right? Mm-hmm. Because he, as it says here on the Paranormal Activity Wikipedia page, which I have open, Paranormal Activity was produced, written, directed, photographed, and edited by Oren Peli. He basically made it for $15,000, and it went to some film festivals, and then it got some steam there. It got picked up by Paramount, and they changed a bit of things here and there, and they put a couple of $100,000 into it.
Well worth it.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah. We just right, because it says here it's like, oh, they worked on the ending. Yeah. It's like if that ending cost $200,000, like what the fuck, right? It was like they spent the whole thing cost $15,000, and it's genuinely it is genuinely a scary movie.
Yeah.
Like if the first time you see it.
Yes.
When you know what happens, I don't think it's the rewatchability of it is maybe not so high. In a way that I think the Blair Witch Project actually is like very rewatchable and scary in a lot of ways.
I would agree with you.
Yeah. Which I guess is kind of a precursor to this.
Big time.
Yeah, but anyway, if they spent $200,000, I guess, to make the ending a little punchier, and I suppose it's successful in that respect. But it doesn't seem like it's worth that much money.
No.
Well, it's just funny now because like maybe in 2009. When she walks towards the camera and her face turns into a demon face, maybe back then that looked like a $200,000 effect. But right now, I don't know. Effects look bad now, but like that, it just looks stupid.
And it just wasn't nearly as effective as some of the other stuff in the movie.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
No, you're totally right.
But
yeah,
we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Yes,
it's the ending.
Yes.
Tell me what because I have like very distinct memories, which is kudos to the studio and stuff, of like when Paranormal Activity came out. Like I remember the ads.
Oh yeah.
I didn't watch it in theaters. I rented it up from Blockbuster, and I watched it with my mom because she's a big pansy.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, ooh, let's watch this, and it really like upset her, and I was like, ha ha ha. But then you know what? Like I remember watching it and being like, yeah, that was cool. But then like being in my bed at night and being like, I'm actually like kind of creeped out right now. Like,
sure.
What if like my door opens or something like that? You know what I mean? Like,
what if I get pulled out of bed and dragged down the
sucked.
hallway? What if I get my toes sucked? Yeah, which is presumably what happens in this film.
Yeah, but I remember when it came out because it is one of those movies, and I find it's like a grab bag of the kind of movies they go for this marketing, but it's like they're showing you the audience reactions, and sometimes it's like when a movie's a critical bomb, they like in the ads they have people who just came out to see the movie, and it's like everyday folks being like, "Oh, Hancock was amazing," you know what I mean? Like, it was like the best. It was so much fun, because they don't have any like critics accolades or anything that they can say, so then they turn to the audience. But this one had the reverse camera of like an audience, and everyone's screaming in terror.
Yeah, like that really worked on me. Like that marketing campaign. I don't know. I guess
You
I
saw
mean
it in theaters.
I did see it in theaters. Yeah, and I would have been like 18 or 19 maybe.
Was
no,
the crowd gasping?
I would have
and stuff?
just turned 19. I don't know. I don't remember exactly, but I remember seeing the ads and the ads sort of replicate the aesthetic of the film, which is interesting, right? Like where it's that night vision black and white thing.
That's true.
Where it's showing the audience and it's like all these guys, like people on their dates and you know whatever, and families and whoever goes to see this stuff, and they're freaking out, like and it's and then it says this is the scariest movie ever made.
Of course.
And that historically has worked on me, which is stupid because it never is the scariest movie ever made.
One day it will be.
Yeah, one day it will be. And I like, you know, I don't have an answer for what the scariest movie ever made is. It's I don't know. In a way, it's probably a Gus Van Sant film. It's not Elephant. It's maybe Jerry is actually in its way quite upsetting. But no, like I remember getting really pumped up to go see this. Just because it promised like a visceral thrill. And I guess that's why I like to go see horror movies, right? To like, because they sort of shake you and appeal to a very like you know, kind of base instinct and so on. That's like, you know, it's nice to like not, you know, you don't really have to think about anything when you're watching these movies. You can just like you just get caught up in it. And yeah, I think I went with like my roommates, maybe like college roommates, and the theater was packed. And I mean, this was back in the days of when you could go you would go to the theater to see a new release movie, and reliably it would be packed, like, and it wasn't like a Marvel or Disney thing or whatever. Yeah, back in the good old days. But yeah, I remember like every time before I would go to a movie that was advertised as the scariest movie ever made, I would think for like a second, what if it is the scariest movie ever made? And what if it's too scary? And what if I freak out?
What if it breaks you?
Yeah, what if I have like a panic attack? Which has never happened to me in a movie theater without the use of drugs or anything like that. I've never.
That's true.
Yeah, but like yeah, I just remember being so anxious about it beforehand. Yeah. And then the movie itself like is actually pretty good, and I remember being enjoying it. But there was nothing scarier than the anticipation right before the movie started. And I think like that's one of the rare times that I would credit marketing
wow.
you know, for that.
Well, I think it's safe to say that maybe this had the scariest marketing campaign of all time.
Yeah, maybe it did. I mean, I wish I was like aware of the Blair Witch one. I was too young for that, I think. Yeah. Because I think that would have. This is sort of like replicating the success of that, and it worked because this was the most profitable movie ever made based on return on investment.
Is it still to this day?
According to Wikipedia, yes, it is.
Wow.
And that does not include the marketing, and that does not include a bunch of other stuff. So it's right. Something of a misnomer, maybe, but it was an extremely successful movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, it spawned the Ghost Dimension.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many movies that came after it. Of course, everyone's favorite, The Ghost Dimension.
That's all everyone talks about.
The Ghost Dimension was in 3D. Well, we're never going to see, because we're not going to be able to replicate that.
That's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate.
That is really unfortunate.
But sometimes it makes me sad when certain movies were released in 3D and you never, like for years I was bummed that I didn't get to see Avatar in 3D, and I finally went to see it just now with the re-release, and like if I had seen it in 3D back then, I would have had post-Avatar depression syndrome. I would have painted myself blue. I would have lived as a Navi. My life would have been so much better.
Yeah. But you're the happiest you've ever been.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know, whatever. I'm happy after we watched Paranormal Activity, my favorite movie.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
well, I hope one day someone does make the scariest movie ever made, and you could walk into it sober and come out a broken man, if at all. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I'm always looking for that. I see a lot of movies in theaters in general, because it's my preferred way of seeing them, and I think it's generally speaking the best way of seeing them. If you're seeing any movie, if you're able to do so. But horror movies in particular, like horror movies and comedies, I guess people say, right? For that audience energy and audience reaction.
mm-hmm.
Horror movies, like when you're trapped in that space and you can't pause it and you can't look at your phone or leave the room without leaving a theater, right? I mean, like the horror movies I've gone to see in the theater just because I'm trying to get a little fix or whatever. It's like, it's sick. Just the terrible stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't really. I'm trying to think what would have been the scariest movie I've seen recently, but it's hard to come by. I'm kind of jaded, I think, with horror. A lot of,
No, 100%, and it
takes a
unfortunate.
lot.
It does take a lot, or a lot of drugs. Like the
most
terrifying theater experience I've had in a while is doing edibles and seeing Climax.
Yeah.
Because it kind of kicks in half an hour into the movie, which is when the edibles kicked in. And then, the whole movie's just dancing.
Yeah.
It's just like dancing with hard techno and weird
people
lights.
doing drugs and killing each other. Yeah.
Well, only like a couple of times, but like it's mostly just dancing, and it was the most terrifying thing I'd ever seen. But this, I think, found footage has a lot of potential because, like, if it's real or presented as like quote unquote real, like you don't have to like try that hard to be creepy. You don't need a huge budget. Like doors opening on their own are creepy. Like disembodied noises in the night, creepy. Let's talk about what the movie does right.
Yeah. I had not seen it. I haven't seen any of the sequels, and I hadn't seen this film since it came out, and I saw it in the theater. And it was not a revelatory viewing, I don't think. I think it's pretty much exactly what I expected it was like.
Same.
But I think this is a pretty good movie. I think it's genuinely scary, and like you said, it relies on some pretty basic fundamental scares without the use of $200,000 face morphing effects until the very end, which is kind of unnecessary.
She kind of looks like Morbius.
It's a little bit of like it's like
or the Aphex Twin face.
Yeah, it's a little bit like it's a little bit like that. If it's when she comes into the camera, it's a little bit like ooh ah, you know what I mean? Like it's just dumb. It's
that should have been the credit music. There's
that would have been good
because it's real.
Yeah.
That's something though. A rose and a thorn. A rose, I like that it opens and he has a reason for filming. Like it opens kind of in media res,
right.
And he's like, weird stuff has been going on, so check it out, babe. I got this camera to try to capture it, right?
Yes.
Thorn, they also open it with an inner title that was the following footage was provided by the San Bernardino police department or something.
Yeah.
But then if ostensibly it was the police department combing through this footage and for whatever reason they chose to release it to the public, why did they keep in so much quote unquote character development, or there's a lot of scenes of him trying to pressure her into filming a porn? Oh,
we're gonna get to that.
Yeah, so it's
that's the meat of the movie, really.
It kind of is.
We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that.
I do have to say, I haven't watched it really since that first time either, but it is kind of about the obviously in really broad strokes, but when I was younger, I probably could care less, and I was just I want to see creepy shit. But it is kind of about the
dissolution. ending.
Yes, of a relationship.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Yeah. This movie is about a young couple, Katie and Mika, and they establish Mika's bought a video camera, and but because there's like paranormal activity going on, the titular paranormal activity, and they establish a few other things off the bat, which are very funny.
He has a huge stake in CoinNet.
Yeah, there's like a shot where he's wearing a shirt that's like CoinNet, and it's like it's
right up in the camera.
Yeah, it's right up in the camera, and it's like it's got to be one of his friends.
Yeah,
like,
please wear my shirt.
Yeah. If you could wear my CoinNet shirt in your movie, it would really help. And then he has no idea that it's going to become like a $1 million success. Or whatever. Yeah. Yeah,
and that's why we hear about CoinNet all the time.
That's
now.
why. Yeah, that's where Bitcoin came from. Yeah. Yeah, so he's a day trader, which is funny, and she's an English student. So he's he's the breadwinner, I guess, and she is has no career ahead of her. I assure you. And
thankfully, she's smoking.
Yeah. This is funny. They're an attractive young couple, and she, I think, is perhaps more attractive than he is. Not just physically, but also most of this movie is the whatever is haunting them is haunting her specifically. Yes. It's not the haunted house. It's like a demon that attaches. It's a poltergeist. It attaches to her, and she keeps saying, like, babe, like, I'm being haunted. Like, help me. And he keeps saying, like, oh, like, I got this video camera, like to film the Paranormal Activity, but like, hey, could we like fuck in front of the camera? It comes up multiple times, and she's like getting dragged around the house and like all bitten and stuff, and it's like I need you to take this seriously, and he's like, yeah, like
but maybe we like fuck first.
Yeah, but like it's like, get out of there, right? She can do better.
They're both attractive physically, but he is insufferable.
It's the movie is kind of like him. It's kind of about a relationship between two people where one of them has financial dominance over the other. Right, and wields it like a sword, and also is gaslighting her into believing she's
staying in a fucking
exactly
haunted house, let alone
a beautiful house.
Yes.
And as I saw noted online, a house that was purchased before the housing bubble crash.
Must have been.
It was. Okay, it's like they would have shot this in 2006, 2007. It's a giant house that, and really maybe that's what the ghost is getting at. It's like, you don't need this house,
right?
Like, there's enough space in here for 2 or 3 families.
I like that reading of it. That it's like the specter of the financial crisis, kind of like stalking a young couple.
Yes, that's what it's all about.
Yeah, it's about the disillusion of a relationship, and the looming housing collapse.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in a way, that is what it has become about, right? Because one of the things you notice first is this house is amazing. Yes. Wow, how could they possibly have that? And then I guess like, sorry, I have to hold my microphone in front of my face. There. Is it too close to my face?
No, I think
it's good. Okay.
When you talk to the sides sometimes.
Yeah. I'm really gonna like.
It's tough to remember.
Yeah, I know it is hard. You're right. You mentioned it. It is hard. Yeah. We can cut all this out.
No,
this is good. Or we can make this the whole show.
Yeah, just us trying to.
So like.
He's not a bad person.
He's not a bad guy, and he's not as like douchey as the setup of him being a day trader might have you think.
This is true.
Yeah, he and like, we're joking about him pressuring her into filming them having sex because it does come up a number of times. But let's be clear. He never actually, he doesn't ever do anything like awful, right? He, when they do have sex at one point early in the film,
he turns the camera off. And he comes back and he's like, well, that was illegal in like 12 states.
He says that was illegal in Kentucky and 12 states.
It's like anal.
It has to be. Yes, it's old-fashioned sodomy laws. Yeah, it must be about that. Yeah, absolutely. Maybe this. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. There's a whole other cut of this movie where they're just
all that stuff is still in it.
They're just sucking and fucking and they're just reaming each other and just eating each other's asses. The
San Bernardino Police County cut out like hours of footage.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I don't think this is relevant, right? Just like, yeah. It's funny that it introduces that because a lot of found footage, a lot of the problems of found footage movies is that they will struggle with introducing their conceit and sticking to it. And some of the more successful found footage movies just like brush over that or like don't introduce a conceit at all, because if they don't introduce it, then they don't have any rules to play by. And then you won't be noticing like, how did they get that shot, or who's holding the camera, or why are they filming this now when they shouldn't be filming it at all, or whatever it is, right?
That's a big one. Like, why are you still filming?
Yes. Like, you're running for your life, and you're like, why are you framing this so well? Yeah. So this movie, like, it introduces that conceit that it's footage that's, I guess, presumably been edited by like a police department, and it's just like, I think they're hoping that you don't really think about that. But it is funny after you've seen it, like going back and thinking like, why, like who's, the poor guy who's like the like AV guy at the police department who has to go through and edit these annoying people.
Well, I actually wrote a parody of found footage horror films. It was called quote unquote found footage. And I opened it with like, this film was like created from like the pieces from like this, that, and then I wrote like the San whatever police video club or audio visual club or something.
Right.
I made like a joke about like who is sifting through. I never made this movie. It's just a script somewhere, but I made a joke about like who goes through this footage and in a case like this like edits it together.
Yeah.
Because the thing I wrote was like 3 different styles of found footage movies kind of stitched together, so you would have had to explain like who edited it and presented it this way. So I was like, is the police's film club or their audio visual team or something.
Yeah, it's some nerd.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, this one, I like that they start out and they have a reason to film, and like you mentioned, like that the nighttime shots with the bed kind of to the like right of the frame.
Yes,
and the door to
the iconic
it's
shot.
kind of iconic.
It is,
right? And
absolutely.
No other film could really do that, because you just be like, this is just Paranormal Activity. Like they really owned it. Yeah,
it's like a very well framed composition for this shot, because you have them in their bed on the right side of the frame, and then you have the door that is typically open, and it's like the reason it's actually kind of funny. It's like the only reason they leave the door open is so that it can move and shut, right? Like you would close your door, but because the door is open, you have this sight line on the left side of the frame all the way down the hallway, and it's a dark hallway.
Which are scary.
Which is
like
creepy.
Simply scary.
Yeah, and when you hear the noise that is on the soundtrack kind of coming from that left-hand side of the frame, you're like, you focus on that, and you look down that dark hallway, and you're just like, it's the scariest thing in the movie is like thinking what's coming. Yeah. And
or like we spoke about, like you're watching it and you could definitely picture people watching this in a theater or at home or whatever and being like, oh my God, did you notice that? Did you notice that?
Yes.
Funnily enough, like the film isn't very subtle at all. Like it kind of forces you to notice things, but
it teaches you though. Like any good movie, like it teaches you how to watch it, right?
Yeah. But like everyday people would go and be like, oh my God, did you see the door move? It's like, yes, it literally moved a foot.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah, well, in that first one, but you did that. You pointed out a shadow moving that I didn't look
because you were too busy looking at her.
I was too busy looking at her feet because I'm a feet guy. It was free feet, and if there's free feet, then you're gonna look at the free feet.
Well, I'm not gonna not look at the free feet.
You have to pay for feet these days. You want quality feet. You have to pay for feet. So I don't know. Don't try to make it like. I don't know how to watch the movie. I know what to watch. You watch the feet.
Always.
Yeah. But no, you're right. Like you're looking down that, and then when this was in theaters, projected on a big screen, like because it's shot on like maybe like a prosumery quality camera, like there is a lot of grain, and especially in those nighttime scenes. And you're waiting for something to materialize out of this, like fuzzy darkness or whatever, and it never does until the ending, which is whatever. But it's like really effective. It's a good movie.
It's like you mentioned, like that frame. It's great because there are so many things to look at, like. Is it the blanket? Is it like, off to the right by their bed or down the hallway or the door or shadows and stuff, like there's just enough, but it doesn't look like it's not a bedroom, like it's.
Yeah, it doesn't feel
stage dressed or anything.
Too constructed or too like designed or whatever. It feels like a real lived in house.
Yeah.
For the most part. It feels like a kind of space that those two would inhabit. It feels like the house of a day trader. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's got like a big TV and like a bunch of leather furniture and whatever else, and I don't know, whatever.
And there's a moment where that we both found pretty effective when they hear a noise and they go out and then they see that there's like a attic space, but that they didn't even know about, that's kind of been moved open, and he goes into this crawl space. And he finds a photo of her as a girl because this thing has been following her since she was a kid.
Yes.
And the edges are singed, and like her house as a kid like burned up in a fire, and they don't know what caused the fire. But then we see a Ouija board light on fire when no one's watching. So it's like obviously this demon has been stalking her for.
Yeah, it's that I mean is maybe the scariest part of the movie for me. It's that when he goes up there and finds the picture of her as a little kid. It's extremely eerie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so simple.
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. Like that classical, like something which does not belong, right? Like something in a place which should not be there and cannot logically be there and is there.
In a creepy space too, like a little like attic crawl space.
Oh yeah, it's terrifying. Yeah, that's got to be the scariest part. The scariest like diversion that they do.
You know what the scariest part for me was when the paranormal investigator who helped them out at the beginning, he comes back later in the movie and almost instantly he's like, I can't help you.
he's
I need to leave.
He's extremely useless. All right, there's two other characters in this movie. Other than because there's her friend, right?
Oh yeah.
There's only two other characters other than the couple. There's Katie's friend who comes over like once or who comes over twice, and only really functions as like someone for her to explain some sort of things going on to, and for the boyfriend to be annoying to or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a lot to do. And then, like you said, there's a paranormal investigator or expert or whoever who comes over at the beginning and kind of lays out some of the ground rules and establishes that there's a presence in the house and that it's attached to Katie, and that leaving the house won't make any difference, right? So that you're not thinking the whole time, well, why don't you just leave, right?
Which is smart.
Yeah, it's good to establish that.
And there's a point where she is like, it won't make a difference.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And then he comes back for a very brief, very funny scene where they call him when like shit's really hitting the fan in kind of the last like third of the movie,
which is partially Mika's fault because Mika keeps being like, no, like we're okay, like we'll figure this out. It's like, Mika,
it's all his fault.
You literally saw a Ouija board catch on fire spontaneously on your footage. Like, call someone, you fucking idiot.
Yeah, that's kind of the fun, like, ironic part of the movie is like it's set up at the beginning that from the paranormal investigator guy that the demon or ghost or whatever is going to feed off of negative energy, and so Mika in general is just kind of a negative energy guy.
Totally.
He's a day trader, right? He's a douche, and like he is simultaneously like not taking it seriously enough and also like egging the demon on by bringing the camera into the whole thing, bringing a Ouija board in, like spreading the baby powder on the floor, like to capture the footsteps. He's kind of baiting the ghost.
Yeah.
And then that in turn brings the ghost in, and that creates more negative energy in the house because they are fighting over it. He is being kind of a bad boyfriend to Katie, who is a smoke show and deserves better. And it just keeps happening and happening and happening. And, I don't know. And then, yeah, there's the great scene where the investigator comes back for one scene and is like, he steps in the house and immediately he's like, I can't be here. I'm making it worse. There's so much negative energy here. I got to go.
They're like,
right?
please help us. He's like, I can't.
I can't. He's completely useless.
Yeah, and I love her friend too, because like there's a scene of her and her friend, and Mika walks in on them, and he's like, "What are you guys like?" They're having tea, just like classic girlfriends chatting, and it's like, "What are you talking about?" Like, "Oh, like my demonic possession."
Yeah, what do you think? The only thing that is happening in our lives right now. What do you think we're talking about?
We're being plagued by like paranormal forces from the ghost dimension. Like,
yeah, it's coming into the bedroom in the middle of the night and it's possessing me.
Fucking Mika's like, "What are you hens cackling about?"
Girl talk. Oh, am I not privy to girl talk? They're like she's just discussing the demonic possession, right? And this guy sucks, right? He is driving the plot forward, which I guess is good for us as the audience, but he's making things worse at every turn, and somehow also neglecting his girlfriend at the same time. It's kind of funny that I guess I wasn't really focused on that the last time, because I was like, when I watched it in the theater, I was just like trying to get scared, I guess. No, but it is kind of a funny relationship movie.
It totally is. Like, and yeah, that's something that I didn't really like. I didn't register, because I guess the advertising worked on me too, and I was just like, I'm gonna see some like spooky shit, and it delivers that.
Yeah.
But then like when the spooky shit isn't novel anymore, you're kind of left being like, well, yeah, this is about like a couple who's inevitably gonna break up, and then spoilers. But the movie kind of culminates with her seemingly being like possessed, and then she wakes up on the final night, stares at him for a while, goes downstairs, starts screaming. He goes downstairs. You hear a tuffle, and then how I would have ended it, like you start hearing like footsteps coming back up the stairs, and from this darkness, and I would have just had it like the footsteps come closer, and maybe the door closes, and it's over. But instead, jump scare, the only real jump scare in the movie, but she kind of
$200,000 jump scare.
His body at the camera kind of falls over, and then she kind of crawls towards the camera and snarls at it, and her face becomes Morbius Aphex Twin face. And
wow, right? It's so funny. She's like coming right at you, like I remember hearing at the time it was like, oh, Steven Spielberg told me to end it that way, and I don't know if that's true, but there were a number of people along the way, like Jason Blum was a big supporter of this movie and helped re-edit it and so on and so forth. And Spielberg did at one point watch the film and have suggestions, I'm sure. And I'm sure one of the suggestions was that you had to change the ending.
Was
Do you want me to read what the original ending was?
Yeah, while you're pulling that up,
Yeah.
It, like I would have been fine if they ended on a jump scare, but just maybe like a better jump scare. Like, have you ever seen the film Lake Mungo?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So, that's amazing. Because
Yeah.
like I don't know anyone else who's seen Lake Mungo.
Yeah, we were talking about it the other day. It sounds like one of one of the funny location names that Krusty's making fun of, like Seattle, Lake Mungo.
Yeah, it does not sound like a horror film at all.
No, it's funny. I like saying Mungo.
I think the whole movie's on YouTube. Honestly,
it's good.
It is good. It's not found footage. It's a mockumentary.
Yeah.
With like a tiny bit of found footage at the end, but it's a very creepy mockumentary about this family going through a haunting, and then there's a few twists that are genuinely like, ooh, and like spine tingling. But then it doesn't end on it, but it has like a jump scare towards the end, and I called it in my Letterboxd review the most well-earned jump scare in horror film history, because you got this whole movie around it. It's, as most mockumentaries, some parts drag, but like it builds towards this, and then it's a jump scare, and the actual like idea behind, I don't want to spoil it, because if you want to watch Lake Mungo, highly recommend it. I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube. It's kind of hard to find, but it is on YouTube.
Yeah, you can download it somewhere.
I almost shat my pants. Like,
yeah.
It was so good. Like, and it's such a creepy concept of what the scare is. Like, so upsetting in such a, oh man, there's got to be an episode where we call spoilers and talk about Lake Mungo for the few folks who have seen it.
Yeah, enter the Mungo-verse.
I wish there was a Mungo cinematic.
Lake Mungo too. Yeah, back to Lake Mungo.
But I'm also really glad it's a standalone, just kind of.
Oh yeah, it's a genuinely good movie. Yeah, I should actually watch that again.
Oh man, it is a movie where it's like I'm almost afraid to watch that ending again, because it was like really affected me. But anyway, the original ending of Paranormal Activity.
Yes. Once Paramount acquired the film, the original ending was shown at only one public viewing before being scrapped. 2 new endings were developed, one theatrically released and the other available as an alternate ending on home releases. Okay, this is the original ending. I'm just going to read Wikipedia here.
Yep.
Katie returns to the bedroom alone, covered in blood and holding a large kitchen knife. Excuse me. She sits on the floor against the bed and rocks back and forth. The next day, Katie's friend Amber leaves that's who that was. Amber leaves a concerned message at 2 p.m., visits the house at 9 p.m., discovers Mika's body downstairs, and runs away in panic. 30 minutes later, 2 policemen enter the house and reach the bedroom, where they find the possessed Katie with a knife. Seeing them, Katie suddenly returns to her normal state and asks about Mika. After the attic door slams by itself, one of the officers panics and shoots and kills her. The camera fades to black as the police officers continue searching the house for the source of the sound. An epilogue text appears dedicating the film to her, to the memory of Mika and Katie. All right.
I don't really like that either, to be honest.
That's probably not a really good ending, yeah, is it?
But speaking of the fade to blacks, they do have these transitions that make it seem like the hidden camera Jackass bits or something. Like,
yeah, well, yeah. I think that's I mean, it's around the same time, right? As I mean, it would have been around when Jackass 2, just after Jackass 2 would have come out, I think. Right?
I guess so, yeah.
Or like, or maybe a few years after.
Before 3, like a couple
definitely
years before 3.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it, I don't know, just had that vibe that
They do have these kind of quick fade outs that are reminiscent of but in between Jackass things. There's an alternate ending, yeah. After killing Mika off screen, Katie comes back upstairs alone, like in the original ending. She closes and locks the bedroom door, approaches the camera, and promptly slits her own throat before collapsing dead. That would have been okay.
I would have been cool with that.
I guess, but maybe they were... I don't know if they were thinking about sequels or whatever else.
But I don't think they really use her in this. I guess we're going to find out next week.
We're going to find out. I don't know. I guess we'll find out. Yeah, so I don't know. I think it, like, the original ending sounds kind of stupid.
I don't really like that.
But the ending that is on the attached to the film now is also quite stupid. So I maybe the one where she slits her throat is the best. I don't know. I don't know how you end this movie, really, right? like the ending, regardless, I think whatever ending you put on it is not going to be the best part of the movie.
No.
The reason this movie succeeds at all is
the spooky moments.
The spooky moments, yeah. Building up tension and releasing it again and again and again. And I think as far as characterization goes, like who gives a shit about these people, really? It doesn't matter. Like, it's not really about that.
No.
It's not a character study, really. But the relationship dynamic, I think, actually is like, it's like worthwhile. Like, it
elevates it slightly, for
yeah,
sure.
I think it adds something to the film. Like, there is something to be said about like living with a partner. You're experiencing something, like in this case, obviously something really out there and supernatural or whatever, and you're trying to explain it to that person and get them on your wavelength and get them to take it seriously, and they are unable to do so. Right? That's extremely frustrating, right?
Yeah.
And I think that that's like pretty well depicted here.
I mean, yeah. I wish it was a bit more realistic. Like, Mika's motivations sometimes really don't seem to be anything other than to be an antagonist.
Yeah. He's just like...
And I'm glad he dies.
Yeah. It's good. It's good that he dies, yeah. It's good that he goes to the ghost dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope he's not there. I hope he still doesn't live there.
Oh, and he's back in that movie
Oh,
when we get
God,
there.
I know.
Just day trading and...
Well, I have to say I did look ahead just to see. I just looked at what these actors are in, right? I was just wondering if they went on to have careers, and it just appears that they do. They at least have appearances or credits in like 2, 3, 4, whatever the marked ones, the Ghost Dimension, et cetera, et cetera. So,
well, you know what? I'm excited because I think this. I mean.
Are you excited? I'm not excited. I thought this was fine. Like,
yeah.
and I'm like.
No, I think there's only one place for this to go.
Yeah, it's gonna go worse.
Dimension.
Oh yeah, the Ghost Dimension. We know we're going to the Ghost Dimension. You know what? I know that's like the light at the end of the tunnel. Even though it's not the end, it's only. I mean, there's still 2 other ones after that. It's most of the way through.
No, it's like, because it was a good idea. It was like a novel little thing. Like we said, that bed scene is iconic. Like, let's see how many ways they could like skin a cat and drain this every bit of its life force.
You're right. When you put it that way, it actually is kind of exciting to see.
How are they going to keep trying to inject new life into this like thing that one movie was perfect?
Yeah.
And it's not a perfect movie by any means.
No.
But like, the Paranormal Activity franchise probably should have ended with the first one.
I can't believe there's like 8 of them or whatever.
And a Japanese sidequel.
Yeah, there's a Japanese sidequel. I don't know what that means. Are we going to cover it? We don't know yet.
Yeah, we'll make a judgment.
We'll find out. I will admit that. I don't know why I said that. This is not an admission. This is just how I live my life. Years ago, when I was looking at, it was probably around this same time, October, right? When you're looking at what scary movies to watch. And like, I don't know about you, but inevitably I will go and look at certain horror franchises and say like, okay, is the sequel any good to this? Or like number 3 or number 4 or whatever, whatever it is. And I think I went on Letterboxd and kind of like looked at some reviews for Paranormal Activity franchises because I was curious to see if there was anything there or if if it was just diminishing returns until you get to
wasteland, a ghost
until you get to the Ghost Dimension, which as we know did win the Oscar for Best Adapted Screenplay the year it came out. It was nominated for the Palme d'Or. It didn't win.
Okay.
It didn't win. That was a huge year though.
No, it did win big at the Berlin International Film
Yeah,
Festival.
it did win the Golden Bear. Yeah, at the Berlin. You're right. That was controversial at the time, but of course, once Ghost Dimension was released wide, everyone saw it and agreed it was probably one of the best films of the year. Well, to each their own. I don't know. Well, we're gonna see when we get there. I never saw it, so we're gonna see.
This is fun because.
Well, wait. Let me finish that thought.
Sorry.
I was gonna say that people seem to like Paranormal Activity 3.
Oh, okay.
Because there's some type of formal trickery or gambit that they have. Like either it's something like there's cameras all over the house, or there's whatever it is. So there's some other type of like formal exercise that they're doing with it. Because maybe 2 is like the exact same thing, and then they were like, well, we got to shake it up, and then they did that, and then 4, and then who cares about 5, and then Ghost Dimension, which is going to be really good.
Yeah, well, no, I am excited, and I was saying, like, I think this is going to be fun because neither of us are really familiar with this franchise after the first one. I
Not
think
at all.
maybe I watched the second one, but I don't really remember it. Maybe because it was so similar to the first.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, bring it on.
Yeah.
The franchisees are back, baby.
Yeah. We're not afraid of no ghosts.
Big things. Though I am afraid to go home, so I'm going to sleep here tonight.
You can sleep here tonight. I have a blow-up mattress, and we could watch Paranormal Activities all night. Yeah.
Knock them all out in one evening.
Yeah, the Ghost Dimension, Ghost Protocol, those are 2 of the best subtitles of any movie, or whatever you call it, you know.
Ghost is just a cool word.
Ghost is a really
Ghost
cool
in
word.
The Shell? That's
Ghost
cool.
in the Shell, yeah.
And that's kind of a franchise. We could watch
That is a
anime
franchise.
and then the Scarlett Johansson.
There are several animated Ghost in the Shell movies.
Oh, I've only seen the first.
I've only seen the first one too, but we could.
But the Scarlett Johansson one too.
Yeah, great. Yeah, fantastic.
You know what's crazy about Ghost in the Shell is the original anime film is like barely an hour long. Like it's an hour and some change. And then the ScarJo live action remake is like 2 hours, and it's like
bloat. They got the bloat. Yeah,
that they do.
Yeah, there were. I mean, you know, someday we'll do that movie when we've done everything else.
Let's not get ahead of ourselves. Like,
yeah,
we still have like 7 more Paranormal Activities.
Oh, I can't believe it! I can't believe how many there are.
And then bonus episode Paranorman,
yeah, and then there. Hang on, okay, hang on.
What? Ben's up to some tomfoolery right now. He's rummaging through DVD cases. Oh, what does he got?
On Blu-ray, from the writer-director Craig Moss, one of the poet laureates of cinema, is one of those parody movies. It's called 30 Nights of Paranormal Activity, with the devil inside the girl with the dragon tattoo.
I love it.
That's terrible.
But that's its own franchise. That's the movie franchise.
I suppose. Well, see, we have the iconic shot of them in bed, and there's a baby with a red Solo cup, and there's a little person chef who has a crucifix. Bane and Abraham Lincoln are there. I don't know who. This was not around when Lincoln came. From Lincoln?
Vampire Hider.
Oh, maybe. Then there's just a lady from Not Anything, and then an alpaca. So I don't know.
This came out when like alpacas and llamas were so funny.
Yeah, this was this.
Were
yeah,
like,
yeah.
Oh my God, like alpacas! Isn't that a joke?
Yeah, it's llama core.
Yeah, it's around the same time that people were like, oh my God, like avocados are everything. And
it's
whatnot,
it's
bacon.
Epic bacon cinema. Yeah, it is pretty close to that, isn't it?
We'll toss it in just for fun. Might as well. We got
sure. Rated R for strong, crude, and sexual content throughout, nudity, language, and some drug material.
That's my favorite kind of sexual content is crude.
Yeah, so is mine. And I think we could agree the best type of sexual content is throughout.
I wonder if Paranormal Activity had a disclaimer like sexual content because he's always trying to fucking
He's trying to pressure. Okay, so okay, we're wrapping this up.
Yeah.
I just want you to remember the first Paranormal Activity movie is in large part about a day trader, asshole douchebag who is pressuring his English major, essentially useless, helpless.
She's financially bound to him.
Yeah, financially bound, completely useless, haunted, perpetually haunted.
She is cursed.
Lifetime cursed girlfriend into sucking his dick on camera. right? And she keeps saying no. There's a ghost around, and we have to focus on that. And he keeps and he's like, yeah, like
I got a ghost for you.
Yeah, right. It's anyway. So, he gets what he deserves, and I guess I mean she doesn't. Unfortunately, she gets to be she gets possessed, and it's not the world isn't fair. It's not fair
by the specter of housing collapse.
Yeah, I mean, and we're yes, right. Yeah, you remember the real ghost is the 2008 recession. Yeah.
We'll see you next time, folks.
Yeah, we will. We'll be back.
PA2.
Yeah. PA2.
Yeah. Goodbye.
Goodbye.